Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta again. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta. One more time. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta. Rupa Goswami writes in his Namashtakam, Nikila Shruti Mali Ratnamala Duti Nirajita Pada Pankajanta I Mukta Kale Rupasyamanam Paritastam Harinama Samshrayami. Of all the Vedas, the crown jewels are the Upanishads. And if you sneak in for Mangal Artik, when you see the Upanishads personified performing Mangal Artik, you'll see that they're offering a lamp to the tips of the toes of the lotus feet of the holy name. Rupa Goswami says that all the liberated souls are chanting the holy name of the Lord. Then he declares, I take full shelter of the holy name of the Lord. Everyone please say, I take complete shelter of the holy name of the Lord. Then he says, Jaya Namadeha Muni Vrindageya He Janaranjanaya Paramakshara Krite Tamararanadapi Managudiritam Dikilogratapa Papadalimbulum Twasi. Whenever the holy name is chanted, it creates a festival. It's the supreme combination of syllables. And if someone utters it even one time, even by accident, or even out of spite, because they say, Hare Krishna. We don't like you Hare Krishna people. Too late, you said Hare Krishna. And then Rupa Goswami goes on to say, Yarabaso Pudyam Kablita Bhavad Vanta Vibhavo Trisham Tatvandanam Apitishati Bhakti Pranayanim. Anyone who hears the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, even if they're completely blind to the truth, will feel bhakti rise within their heart. They'll have a sense that there's something mystical to this mantra. It's awakened something in them, even if they don't know what it is. So we make a special prayer here while we're all together. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please repeat. Dear Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, if you so desire, please empower us to chant the holy name of the Lord with taste. Please empower us to chant the holy name of the Lord. And please empower us to spread the holy name all over the world. And please empower us to spread the holy name all over the world. To every city, and every city street, to every town, to every shop, to every home, on every radio station, and all the social media. Please help us to flood the world with the holy name of the Lord. Thank you for considering our request. Everyone who agrees with this prayer in part or in whole, please say Hare Krishna. I think it's unanimous. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to our morning Bhagavatam class. This morning we will be discussing from Caitanya Caritamrta, perfect just a couple of days before Gaur Purnima. And we will be discussing from Adi-Lila, chapter 2, verse 11. And the chapter is entitled Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As we said, it's just right in time for Lord Chaitanya's appearance day on Thursday, this Thursday in 2 days. And the class will be given by Vrindaneswari Radhika from ISKCON, Philadelphia. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
Please
Krishna.
accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada.
Please accept mine. All glories to Prabhupada. Good morning, everyone. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Giravadari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Giravaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Giravaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Panachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Asatari Satas Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Asatari Satas Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Prem Sikho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadara Shiva Sati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Radha Krishna Gopa Gopina Shamakun Radhakun Gitar Govardhan Ki Jai. Ayapur Dham Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Devi Ki Jai. Gangi Devi Ki Jai. Dasi Devi Ki Jai. ISKCON Harrisburg Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Bol. All glories assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Garanga, Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminati Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravana Pacharne Nirvashesha Srinivadi Pashita Deshatarne. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottama Devam Sarasvatim Vashyam Tatodaya Madirayat Nastaprayasya Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloki Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So we'll read the verse and then we'll take turns chanting it together. Vadanti tat tatva vidas tatvam yag jnanam avanyam brahmati paramatmati bhagavan iti sabhyate. Vadanti tat tatva vidas tatvam yag jnanam avanyam brahmati paramatmati bhagavan iti sabhyate. Vadanti tat tatva vidya tatvam yajnanam avyayam brahmati paramameti bhagavaniti sabhyate. Anyone else?
Vidas tatvarya jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti sabhyate. Hare Krishna.
Vadanti tattva vedastatvam yajnanamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabdyate.
Anyone else?
Vadanti tattvavidas tattvam yaj jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdayate.
Okay. Anyone else like to try? Okay. Great. Go ahead.
Vatanti tata tattva vitas tattvam yaja jnanam atvayam brahmati paramatmeti bhagwan iti saptayate. Hare Krishna.
Nice. Thank you. Okay. Let's do word for word. Vadanti, they say, tat, that, tattva vidyaha, learned souls, tattvam, the absolute truth, yat, which, jnanam, knowledge, avayam, non-dual, Brahma, Brahman, iti, thus, paramatma, paramatma, iti, thus, Bhagavan, Bhagavan, iti, thus, Sabhyate is known. Translation and purport by Savannah Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth say that it is non-dual knowledge and is called impersonal Brahman, the localized Paramatma and personality of Godhead. The Sanskrit verse appears as the 11th verse in the first canto, second chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam, where Sutta Goswami answers the questions of the sage, headed by Sanaka Rishi, concerning the essence of all scriptural instructions. Tattva-vidaha refers to persons who have knowledge of the absolute truth. They can certainly understand knowledge without duality because they are on the spiritual platform. The absolute truth is known sometimes as Brahman, sometimes as Paramatma, and sometimes as Bhagavan. Persons who are in knowledge of the truth know that one who tries to approach the absolute simply by mental speculation will ultimately realize the impersonal Brahman, and one who tries to approach the absolute through yoga practice will be able to realize Paramatma. But one who has complete knowledge and spiritual understanding realizes the spiritual form of Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Devotees of the personality of Godhead know that Sri Krishna, the son of the King of Raj, is the absolute truth. They do not discriminate between Sri Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. One who wants to separate the Lord's absolute name, form, and qualities from the Lord himself must be understood to be lacking in absolute knowledge. A pure devotee knows that when he chants the transcendental name Krishna, Sri Krishna is present as transcendental sound. He therefore chants with full respect and veneration. When he sees the form of Sri Krishna, he does not see anything different from the Lord. If one sees otherwise, he must be considered untrained in absolute knowledge. This lack of absolute knowledge is called Maya. One who is not Krishna conscious is ruled by the spell of Maya under the control of duality in knowledge. In the absolute, all manifestations of the Supreme Lord are non-dual, just as the multifarious forms of Vishnu, the controller of Maya, are non-dual. Empiric philosophers who pursue the impersonal Brahman accept only the knowledge that the personality of the living entity is not different from the personality of the Supreme Lord. And mystic yogis who try to locate the Paramatma accept only the knowledge that is the pure soul, that the pure soul is not different from the supersoul. The absolute conception of a pure devotee, however, includes all others. A devotee does not see anything except in its relationship with Krishna, and therefore his realization is the most perfect of all. Om Jnana Timiranja Jnana Shalakaya Chakshar Unmatamyena Tashme Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitem Yena Budale Shvayam Rupa Kadapmadam Sadati Svadvatantikam Vanchakalpa Trubhisha Kripa Sindhu Vaivachapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Shivanti Bhakti Charaswamana Tinamane Snake Chaita Supaneda Bhagavan Trasa Plutam Prabhupada Prananam Bhakti Charapadan. So I'll read the translation again. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth say that it is non-dual knowledge and is called impersonal Brahman, the localized Paramatma and the personality of Godhead. So here, Prabhupada actually points out here that this was brought up in the second chapter. So we've discussed this a little bit through our Bhagavatam class. And it's really the absolute truth is really important to understand what it truly means. you might hear the term absolute truth being kind of thrown around, like, I want to know what's absolutely true. What's the absolute truth? But in the context of our spiritual life, and in the context of Shastra, it's important to distinguish that absolute truth is Bhagavan, is Krishna. They are non-different. When we're seeking absolute truth, we're seeking to know Krishna. We're seeking to have a relationship with God. In the purport in the Srimad Bhagavatam to this particular verse, Prabhupada talks about the absolute truth as both subject and object. Therefore, there's no qualitative difference. So he's saying Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan are qualitatively one and the same. The substance is realized as impersonal Brahman by the students of the Upanishads, as localized Paramatma by the Hiranyagarbhas or yogis, and as Bhagavan by the devotees. And when Prabhupada describes these different realizations, what he's helping, he uses an analogy, and most of us have heard this analogy before, but I think it really helps to illuminate the relationship with the Lord and how our understanding can sharpen or become more focused as we have work on forming that relationship with Bhagavan. So the Brahman, the absolute truth of Brahman realization is really kind of the effulgence, right? But behind that, there's the super soul, right? So then there's the Paramatma, and there's, you can kind of see that there is something behind it. So he gives the train coming down the tracks. So the Brahman is the light that you see of the train. You're like, okay, all I see right now is light, especially if it's dark out or if it's coming from a tunnel. All you see is this bright light, right? But if you only just took the train to be the bright light, you'd be missing the train, right? You would never get on it because you just only see this bright light. But as the train comes closer and as you deepen your realization and understanding of what is the train, as the train comes closer, you see, oh, actually, in fact, the bright light is coming from the train, and the train is in fact an object, right? It's there. There's more to the bright light. There's something emanating the bright light, right? So if we think about the Brahman realization, it's this Brahman effulgence, but there's something emanating the effulgence. That's not all there is. So behind that then is the train. And Prabhupada gives this example that as we get closer to our understanding, as we get closer to the train, we realize that there's actually people inside of the train. There's activity within the train. And this is our understanding of Bhagavan. Bhagavan is that activity. It is the relationship, the personality, Supreme Personality of Godhead, all of the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so it is important to understand the absolute truth and how that relates to Paramatma and Bhagavan. And Paramatma is, we know, to be super soul, the soul within our hearts. This is kind of the guiding energy from Krishna. This is the spark. Krishna sits in all of our hearts. God sits in all of our hearts here next to the soul. Now, the Atma and the Paramatma, the Atma is our own spark of energy, our own individual spark of energy that's part of the Supreme. The Paramatma is its own energies of God that's sitting right next to our soul, observing, looking at, maybe guiding the activities of. And so we know that this Paramatma is there inside of us. But there's more to Paramatma even. So if we only just see the Paramatma, we're only seeing the portion of it as well, because Paramatma is only just it's an extension of Bhagavan, of the Supreme. So seeing that Paramatma isn't all there is either, the Paramatma is actually just also another expansion of the Lord, and the Lord is in all of his effulgence. So in this verse, Prabhupada, he refers to this Tattva Vidha as a person who has knowledge of the absolute truth. So and Tattva Vidha is brought up a lot throughout Prabhupada's classes and different writings, and it's really that tattva is truth, right? And so we're looking for that supreme truth, that supreme knowledge. This is the tattva vidha, which is that absolute truth. And And so what is that truth that one can attain, and how does one come to the understanding of absolute truth? How does one come to the realization of that? Well, in some of our studies of Bhagavad Gita, we know that the coming to this platform can be very difficult for us, but it's part of our path, right? So we know that the Tattva Vidya is essential, but it's not found by every person. It's the guru, and Prabhupada gives a lecture here. He was given a lecture on the Caitanya Charitamrta Madhya Lila 20th chapter, and he gives another quote from Bhagavad Gita: Tad vidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnananyas tattvadarshina. And here he's saying about the guru means one who has seen the absolute truth. That is the guru. He says tattva darshina. The darshan we know to means to see, to take presence within. We take darshan of the deities. So tattva darshina is to see, to understand the absolute truth. And here he says tattva means the absolute truth, and darshana is one who sees. So he goes on to explain that in the movement, in our Krishna consciousness movement, for this purpose, to see the absolute truth, to understand the absolute truth, to know the problems of life and how to make a solution, we have to understand that through guru. And Prabhupada talks about this until we have that understanding of absolute truth. We're not going to be seeing spiritual reality. We're not going to have that deep spiritual realization. And so our purpose, our goal, is to understand the absolute, is to understand absolute truth. That is one of our goals, is to understand how absolute truth comes in. Absolute truth is Bhagavan. And so this is a really deep topic, because it's something that we can intellectualize a little bit and say, okay, well, I know absolute truth is Bhagavan, but how are we living it? And this is what Prabhupada goes on to explain, is that our subject matter is not material things, that somehow or another you get a car and a good apartment and a good wife and all your problems are solved. That is not solution of problem. The real problem is how to stop your death. And Prabhupada's talking about this death of, how do we stop death of, we can't stop the death of the material body, but we can stop the repeated birth and death by transcending, by not coming back into this material body. And so this is the real stopping of death, is to not keep coming back into this material body. And in the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, we've been talking about death a lot. That's been kind of this hallmark theme that's been going on for the last month. And due to the Battle of Kurukshetra, and we're seeing Grandfather Bhishma lying on his bed of arrows and giving instruction to King Yudhisthira. And this whole theme is around death, and how we can prepare ourselves for death, and the true realization of Krishna and of our relationship with Krishna as it relates to our material activities here. So so here, Prabhupada says, if we don't have knowledge, it's a very dangerous place. We need to take these questions very seriously. We need to take up the question of, how do I understand absolute truth? How do I understand my relationship with Krishna? And there's a couple of Bhagavad Gita verses that I think are relevant. One we've talked about a lot, I think, in Bhagavatam class, and I think I've actually brought this up a number of times as well, but this gives kind of an introductory in the Bhagavad Gita, an introductory understanding of what it means to really understand this relationship. And it's Bhagavad Gita 4.9, and you're probably very familiar. It's a very, very common verse to be quoted in class, because it tells us about our understanding of our relationship. It's Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tataha tyatva deham punar dhyana natimam eti sojarna. So one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. And here he's saying, this is explaining how we stop death, right? It's that understanding, knowledge. This is the knowledge of the Lord, knowledge of his appearance and activities. So this is absolute truth. And then there's also understanding the relationship with Bhagavan, right? Because that's the appearance, that's the activities, is as we get closer to the train, we see that there's people and there's activities occurring. So understanding that the relationship between Bhagavan, Paramatma, and Brahman realization, and seeing how they are all one. But if we just only take a part of it, that we will not have the full understanding. Especially taking the Brahman and the Paramatma. If we take those only separately, and take out Bhagavan, then we're missing the full picture of Supreme Personality of Godhead and who Krishna is truly. And so and another verse that kind of came to mind for me about this truth, this knowledge, is Bhagavad Gita 7:3. I'll just read the English, but out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So here in Caitanya Caritamrta, it's saying that learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth say that it is non-dual knowledge and it's called impersonal Brahman, the localized Paramatma, and the personality of Godhead. And here in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying this is very difficult to achieve. And hardly one of these thousands of men, hardly any knows him in truth. And so Prabhupada says in his purport that there's many different grades of men out there, many thousands. And he says one may be sufficiently interested in transcendental realization to try to know what is self, what is body, and what is the absolute truth. So here we have to make that inquiry, right? We have to inquire and endeavor. And so this inquiry is part of the initial steps of spiritual life, is to make that inquiry. And in another verse in Bhagavad Gita about who actually comes to this platform of looking for a relationship with God, with Krishna. It's Bhagavad Gita 7:16, and it's, O best among the Bharats, 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the absolute. So here we see again the knowledge of the absolute. And for those that are seeking knowledge of the absolute, this is someone that's truly they're truly looking for that the absolute truth, that deeper relationship, that deeper understanding. And so here we see Prabhupada says here in this particular verse, on the whole, when the distressed, the inquisitive, the seekers of knowledge, and those who are in need of money are free from all material desires, and when they fully understand that material remuneration has nothing to do with spiritual improvement, they become pure devotees. As long as such a purified stage is not attained, devotees in transcendental service to the Lord are tainted with fruitive activities in the search for mundane knowledge, etc. So one has to just transcend all this before one can come to the stage of pure devotional service. So he's saying we have to transcend even all of these 4 things to be able to understand, to be able to truly be in that pure devotional service. And that takes some time. And so, here, Anya Balasi Tasunyam, Gyana Karmandi Anvirtam, Anukulyena Krishnanu, Sila Nam Bhaktir Uttama. This is another really common verse that we'll see recited in class. It's from the Nectar of Devotion. And this is something that tells us about how we should approach the Lord, how we should approach all of this. We're talking about absolute truth. We're talking about this understanding. How should we approach the Lord? One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably, and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. This is called pure devotional service. And so here, going back to our original verse, here Prabhupada says, devotees of the personality of Godhead know that Sri Krishna, the son of King of Raj, is the absolute truth. They do not discriminate between Sri Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. One who wants to separate the Lord's absolute name, form, and qualities from the Lord himself must be understood to be lacking in absolute knowledge. So again, this is the concept of the train. If we only are associating the energies as Krishna, or only associating the Paramatma as Krishna, we're ill-informed, right? We're lacking that knowledge, that absolute knowledge that Prabhupada's pointed out here. And we really need to know, the full understanding of what the Lord is, who he is. A pure devotee knows that when he chants the transcendental name Krishna, Sri Krishna is present in transcendental sound. He therefore chants with full respect and veneration. And I think this is an important point here that Prabhupada brings forth. And I talk a lot about chanting japa in class because it's something personally that I'm always trying to work on. And, it's challenging. There's japa classes, there's japa retreats. Why is there so much focus on chanting and japa? Because it's our daily practice. It is our sadhana, right? It's what those of us who've taken on a spiritual master, those who have taken Diksha initiation, this is our vow to chant 16 rounds a day and to avoid the 10 offenses, right? Those are some things that we've take vows as devotees when we come into this movement. But yet, when we take that vow, we're going to chant 16 rounds. What does that mean? Well, Prabhupada's telling us a pure devotee knows that when he chants the transcendental name Krishna, Sri Krishna is present as transcendental sound. He therefore chants with full respect and veneration. And so in our daily sadhana, in our daily japa, this is helping us to see, well, this is a goal. This is something we want to aspire for, is to be able to chant in focus, chant in that knowledge that Krishna is non-different, right? And if we're chanting in a very lackadaisical way, if we're unfocused, if we're distracted, these are all things that are going to take us away from that realization of that transcendental name is the same as the transcendental sound of Krishna. It's all the same. It's Krishna being present. So when we are not chanting with our full hearts, when we're not chanting with our full attention and focus, we are in namaparad, right? Namaparad is that space where we're committing offenses while chanting. Okay, and then the namabhas is really trying to clear ourselves of those offenses and clear our minds and our hearts so that we can focus more, so that we can get to that good chanting. But namaparad and namabhas is really, dancing between those two. I think it's a common thing. It's common because we are still in these illusory energies. And, because Prabhupada says here, the lack of absolute knowledge is called Maya. One who is not Krishna consciousness is ruled by the spell of Maya under the control of duality and knowledge. So even though we can intellectually know what the absolute is, Maya's energies are still pretty strong. And so they're pulling on us all the time, right? And we know many of you have maybe seen the painting with the puppeteers, and the guiding the human beings. And it's really those modes of material nature that are under the governance of Maya. And we really are all swimming in those modes of material nature, those three modes of material nature throughout our day. And they're always, as Krishna points out in Bhagavad Gita, they're always fighting for control. Throughout the day, we might have a rumble and tumble with mode of ignorance fighting for, control over the mode of passion, and mode of passion fighting for control over mode of goodness, and all of them kind of duking it out throughout the day. And how do we overcome this? Well, we overcome this, and Prabhupada tells us here, when we chant the transcendental name of Krishna in full knowledge that Krishna is present in his transcendental sound. And when we do that in full of respect and veneration. So when we are chanting in this way, we will start to release ourselves from the clutches of Maya. It's always say the clutches, because Maya is potent. She's very powerful. And I've talked about this before in Brahma Samhita. There's a very lovely description of Maya. I think it's verse 43. There's that Maya actually will transform from Mahamaya to Yogamaya if our desires are aligned with Krishna. So as long as we continue to point ourselves in the direction of material activities, Mahamaya will be more than happy to assist and help keep us entangled in material activities. But if we turn our attention to Krishna and we say, Krishna, this is where I want to be. I want to be with you. And if we make that a consistent plea, then Mahamaya will become Yogamaya. When Yogamaya is engaged, she really serves. She really serves us to deliver us to Krishna, and helps light that path. It's like a plane coming in on a runway, right? Yogamaya may just keep the lights out and the plane is just misguided and it will never find its way to the runway. Mahamaya, will do that. But Yogasmaya's role is to light those lights up. So Mahamaya is going to keep the runway dark, let us be in bewilderment. But Yogamaya, as soon as Mahamaya sees that our desire really is to be in a relationship with Krishna, she will become Yogamaya, and she will light those lights up and help give us a path, toward Krishna and illuminate that for us. So we have these possibilities, and we have these opportunities, and Prabhupada gives us many different tools that we can really focus on. And here Prabhupada says in the very last sentence that a devotee does not see anything except in its relationship with Krishna, and therefore his realization is the most perfect of all. So that's telling us that when we see that Krishna is Bhagavan, Krishna is Paramatma, and Krishna is Brahman. And when we see everything as Krishna, we see his name as Krishna, we see his form as Krishna, we see the deity as Krishna, everything is Krishna, everything is Bhagavan, Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we are in a perfect realization. And so this is something that we can practice in our day-to-day lives. And one of the beauties, and since we do have Gaur Purnim coming up on Thursday, it's a wonderful opportunity to celebrate. Gaur Purnim is the appearance of Lord Caitanya, who came over 500 years ago, and he came as the most merciful, expansion of Krishna. He is an incarnation of Krishna that was here to experience what it was like to be a devotee. Because it is said that Krishna would see how Radharani would just faint and become so in awe and devotion of him, and he couldn't understand it. So when he came back as Lord Caitanya, he wanted to really understand what Radharani was feeling, what she was experiencing. And so this is where we see Lord Caitanya in this fully absorbed expression, his fully absorbed devotional service. So Lord Caitanya is here to guide us, and he's merciful because he's able to take the fallen, right? He is the Dina Dayal, the fallen souls, and he's able to help them be able to elevate, right? Even the Jadai Madai, excuse me, that pastime where they were just thieves, they were criminals, they were thugs, basically. And Nityananda, they were going to hurt. They're hurting people, and Nityananda wanted to, bash them, and Lord Chaitanya's like, no, let them be, and they became very elevated devotees of the Lord. So even these thieves and miscreants like Jagai and Madai, they became saved by Lord Chaitanya because of his great mercy for the fallen souls. And so this is why in Gaur Purnim, this time of Gaur Purnim, it's an opportunity for us to really to bow to the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and seek his shelter. This shelter is what's going to help us to enliven our spiritual practice and also deepen our relationship with Krishna, with him, Lord Chaitanya, because he is giving us the facility to be able to he's giving us the facility to be able to love Krishna in a very sweet way. And, if you ever have the chance to chant the Shikshashtaka prayers, I try and chant them most mornings. I don't, some mornings are a little cramped and I don't get to them, but I do try and chant Shikshashtaka most mornings. And the other morning I was chanting Shikshashtaka prayers, and I was really thinking, like, wow, this is Lord Chaitanya, and yet he is so humble. He's so humble in his prayers. And it's he's talking about himself as, if only I could shed a tear, if only I could have the taste for chanting, if only I could do this, if only I could let go of my material attachments, if only. And and here's his God. He's setting this example to say, but the way I took it the other day was, you're not alone. You're not the only one that struggles with spiritual life. And in reading that prayer, to me, it's very humbling, but it's also very reassuring to me that Lord Chaitanya has given this prayer to us. The only thing that he actually himself recorded, these 8 verses. Everything else was written by his associates, but Lord Chaitanya only left us with these 8 verses, the Shikshashtaka prayers. And you could say that that's what he wanted to communicate. He really narrowed it down to the diamond. He just brought it all to that one diamond that he wanted to leave for future generations, future devotees, future Vaishnavas. Because in essence, he is saying, Cheto Darpana Marjana Mahabhava Devagni Nirvapanam. He's like, this fire, this torchlight, this fire that's within me. It's it's burning. It's cleansing the mirror of this. The holy name is cleansing the mirror, the dust that's built up on the mirror of my heart. And saying, let there be all glories for the chanting of the holy name of Lord Krishna. And so this is all really, he's left us these and these 8 stanzas, these 8 verses for us to really embrace, I think, embrace in deeply, and to feel that yearning, because Lord Chaitanya was feeling that yearning. You can feel that in those verses, and it's a beautiful guide. When I'm chanting them in the morning and chanting the translations, I feel myself like, yeah, I am, wanting to be, humble and lower than a grade of grass and more humbler, more tolerant than a tree, not blaspheme any devotees, all those things. Like, this is how he is presenting himself. And so this coming Thursday, Gaur Pranim, we have a fast until moonrise, and it's during this fasting time, some of us might be just scrambling around trying to get ready for the big festival that night. I know I'll be doing a lot of prep work. We're having a festival at Bhakti Garden because we have the Panchatattva there. So we're doing a really nice festival, and we're doing a Harinam on the streets. We're doing a flower petal. This is something unique we're doing. We're doing a flower petal Harinam. This is Hariyasha Prabhu. Any of you who know him, he likes to do things big, and he wanted to go out on the streets of Philadelphia and just shower people with offered flower petals as part of our Harinam that we're going to be doing on Thursday. So that's going to be really enlivening, and then we're coming back and doing some kirtan. But the goal of any of these festivals is really to deepen our spiritual practice. And this is why we're fasting too, because the fasting takes away some of the bodily hope. It's hard. it's hard, but it's supposed to take away some of the bodily focus so that we can increase our spiritual activities during that day. So if we're not constantly spending time eating, meal prep takes a while, sitting and eating takes a while, and then we digest, maybe feel a little sleepy, so the idea of fasting is really an opportunity to free our bodies up a little bit, clear our minds, and to be able to do extra rounds, read extra verses, do whatever we can, spend more time with the deities, do whatever we can to increase our realization. Maybe do some journaling, reflection, anything that we can do on that day to increase our realization, our spiritual realization. Maybe do some self-assessment to see, well, how do I feel in my spiritual life? How am I progressing? How am I feeling on this day? And, I often find, this has happened to me a bunch of times, but it's always often on these holy days where there's like something that happens. There's often a little test that happens on holy days for me. And I'm always just like, Krishna, he makes it very clear to bring my attention to certain things, oftentimes on these holy days. And maybe not everyone experiences that, whether you do or don't. I think it is an opportunity to seek that deeper inner guidance, but also inner reflection as well. So like I said, Lord Caitanya has been here. He was here. He left us so much, and his associates, have done amazing things to be able to bring this forward to us. And Krishna Kaviraj Maharaj, who compiled the Chaitanya Charitamrta that we're reading here today, what a gift, what a boon to be able to have this account, of his time here, on earth, and to really be able to bring forth these conversations. It's kind of like the devotees who compiled the Prabhupada's Lilamrita, the Prabhupada's biography, right? Someday people will look back, devotees will look back, and they thank goodness someone recorded this information. Thank goodness someone was there to record these conversations. But here we're looking at conversations with God, with Lord Chaitanya, and these have been brought forth for us for generations, for eternity, essentially, that if these will be preserved through the teachings of the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, that through that Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition is the tradition that kind of rolls up to Lord Chaitanya, right? And that's part of our lineage, is coming from that Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. And so we will continue to use these verses as spiritual, strength. These can provide fortitude for us, to give us knowledge, but also give us understanding, deeper understanding about our relationship. And eventually we can move away from the aparads, move away from all of the difficulties that we may be experiencing, move more and more away from material energies and more towards spiritual energies. And that we seek on this day, coming up, to really surrender to Lord Chaitanya and pray for his mercy and bringing us to Lord, bringing us home. So, we have a few minutes, and would like to invite any conversation about either Gaur Pranim or this verse. And there's a bunch of people on today, so let's get some good conversation going.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful class, and especially when you spoke about the chanting of the holy name, how important it is the prime duty of today's age that we have to embark ourselves on, so that it helps us to remember the Lord, and also it helps us to remember how unfortunate we are and we need the mercy of the Lord. So thank you so much for addressing that wonderful point. Would like to ask devotees if you have any questions, any comments, takeaway, or even sharing from any realization. It doesn't have to be a question. It doesn't have to be a comment. It can be even a takeaway, a sharing thoughts, realization. That's how we start the discussion. And we also learn from each other. That helps us go deep into our own spiritual life. I think for me, what was really sweet, Vrindaneswari, was when you spoke about the prayers of Lord Chaitanya, the Shri Shastaka, and we just finished, we covered it. We tried to do the 8 prayers of Lord Chaitanya over a course of 8 weeks, right before Gaur Purnima, because it's not enough. We can always be reminded about that every single year. It's just not a one-time, I know the prayers and I'm good, It's, it's a prayer, and like any other verse that we read or learn, or we hear from the scriptures. I think it's really important that we remind ourselves about these prayers. And one of the prayers is, when will my when will my face be decorated with tears of love?
Yeah.
That is really amazing. Because as I was reading my spiritual master's book, Reflections, I think 2, and it's about the prayers of Sri Shastaka. And he was mentioning there that our heart is so hard, and he used the word steel framed, that it just can't cry. And Lord Chaitanya is showing us what it means to have the high level love is we have to really cry. And then he was sharing in the book that, we tend to cry when we lose something or someone. Natural tendency for human nature, right? But we don't cry for the Lord. And he said, because our hearts are so steeled. We have to really get to the stage that that's when we have really understood what is spiritual love, what is actual love of Godhead. I think that's how he put it. That is when we'll understand the love of Godhead, is when we just, decorate our face with tears. Yeah. That was one of my favorite verses, because it's really hard.
Yeah, it is. And, I think that's one of the things that came to me the other day when I was really thinking about the prayers, and I kept thinking, wow, this is setting the example too, that when will my eyes be decorated with the tears that flow down, and when will I feel the yearning for your presence? These are kind of the things, like, and I'm like, wow, I don't feel this. Like, when am I going to?
And when will my hair stand up? Right? Yeah. That verse. I don't.
And I think that he's giving us that template for it's saying, like, you're human, you're not, he's setting the bar for us to be able to see where we're at, I guess is what I was feeling.
Yes.
In some of those verses, that it's, if he's saying these things and I'm like, I'm not any, he's saying these things and I'm like, whoa, like I got a ways to go. And even when I think about Bhaktivinoda Thakur and his different prayers and songs, and they're just so humble, but he's saying, like, I'm low, I'm fallen, and I'm this and I'm that. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur even very much so takes this very humble approach. And when I'm reading Bhaktivinoda Thakur, so my first time I was starting to read his things, I'm like, wow, is this bad for self-esteem? But he was, this is the mood of someone that recognizes where they're at, and he's very elevated. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is extremely elevated. So yeah, the Shikshastika prayers are really beautiful, and it's wonderful.
You made a very good point, Vrindaneswari, with Bhaktivinoda Thakur. As you were speaking, I was realizing, he is so humble that, like you said, I'm this, I'm low, I'm whatever, and like you said, it sounds like it's low self-esteem, right? And I'm this, but we have the examples of the acharyas showing us and teaching us how we are so insignificant, how we are so unfortunate, but we don't think of ourselves that way. We just think, I got this. No, I can do it. I'm not that low. You know what I mean? No, who are you to tell me that, right? But we have acharyas, prayers of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and all the acharyas, Srila Krishna Das Kavira, Srila Narottama Das Thakur, so many prayers saying, I am lost, I am fallen, I am this, I am wretched, I am whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and it makes it, and they are teaching us, like you said, that we are very insignificant and we cannot think that we are significant. I think that is what it is,
Right. And it's like, if I walk around thinking like, yeah, like you said, I've got this, I don't feel that way. It's like, really, then you might be still in your head. You might be still like letting the illusory energies, dictate your actions.
Yes.
Because if we were really truly in understanding of spiritual energies, we would recognize that how limiting this material body is, and how limiting the material brain is. But when we're still in the bodily concept of life, we think that we're good, and this is kind of it's really truly when one can come to that spiritual understanding, that they can see how unfortunate this life is, and see, like I said, see the limitations of the material energies in the material body. Yeah. So
Yeah, it's pretty deep. It's pretty deep.
deep.
We have a lot of humility and tolerance to learn. We think we got it, but no. We think we understand it. At least for me, no, because if Bhaktivinoda Thakur can say that I'm this, I'm that, I'm a wretched soul, I'm lost, and I'm like, no, I'm not wretched.
I know, exactly. It reminds me of, when you see little kids and you give them like a little play kitchen set, and they really think they're making a like pie, or they think they're making a cupcake. And they're so like, look, I made this cupcake. You're like, and I imagine sometimes like Krishna is probably like, look at them trying to make cupcakes with like plastic. Aren't they cute? So it's it's just kind of that realization. We're small, we're children in this Krishna's energies, that we're all just, and I speak for myself. I say we, but I should speak for myself really, that I'm a child, and I'm, in Krishna's energies here. I'm just like, I'm just like a little kid just trying to play house and figure it out. And
in fact, I don't know why I heard this, and I want to really think whether it was Chandramauli Swami or Giriraj Swami or Radhanath Swami, but one of them said, and I read in their lecture transcription, I think a year or two ago, in I think it was Radhanath Swami, he says, and he was speaking on the prayers of Lord Chaitanya, and he was saying is, even if we cannot cry and we cannot have tears flowing down our face, from our eyes, then we should be crying why we are not able to cry. He said, and we should be praying to the Lord, it's not coming down, what do I do? So he said that we should be actually crying about not being able to cry, because we have to soften our heart, because the heart is still hard.
Yeah, the heart is very hard, and it's the material energies that can beat us up after a while, and but also cause us to become very absorbed, and crying for the lack of ability is worthy of tears, I think.
And I think there are times in life where people in general, or even me, we cry to the Lord when something bad has happened. Oh, Krishna, why did you do this to me? Oh, Krishna, why did you take me again?
The suffering.
But we don't, right. But we don't say to Krishna, I miss you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where are you?
Where are
I'm
you?
looking for you.
Yeah. Why can't I feel your energies throughout my day?
Yeah. It's a really nice prayer and meditation that we all can, I feel, really dive into right before Gaur Purnima.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great opportunity. So welcome. Any other comments or thoughts?
Yeah, please, others, please do jump.
Don't be shy.
Jump right in.
Don't be shy. Even if you want to just introduce yourself and say hi. I welcome that too.
Absolutely. Any comments? Any thoughts? Any reflection? It's a beautiful prayer, actually, and a beautiful meditation that we can set our minds on praise of Shri Shastaka right before Gaur Purnima. I'm looking down the list to see if anyone would jump right in, but
no problem. We can all our own internal meditation on Lord Chaitanya over the next couple of days. And
yes. And thank you so much, Vrindaneswari, for such a wonderful class and having us really regroup our mind and our focus and our prayer on. Wait, there's something that came in.
Dear
the
Krishna
chat,
Prabhu
please.
provided.
Okay.
Oh, good. Thank you, dear Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah, yes, we needed something different. Oh, he says, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada has commented, when I think that I am well, ooh, I love this.
This is great.
It is great, yeah. I become averse to Krishna, and as a result, I consider senior devotees to be junior to me. That is why, considering this, Lord Krishna keeps me in various distressful conditions, such as ill health and other inconveniences. In such times, I try to understand the meaning of the verse. I'm trying to go down here. Meaning of, I think I jumped way too fast. Can you catch that, Vrindavan?
Yep. At such times, I try to understand the meaning of the verse, beginning with tate nukapam. When we remain absorbed in material subjects which are not related to Krishna, we are inclined to quarrel with the different people of the world. When we remain busy in the service of the Lord, we can expect to be attacked by the people of this material world. And that's from a letter, 5th of August, 1926, Caritamrta, Nectar from the Letters. That's great. Thank you, dear Krishna Prabhu. That's fan. I'm going to copy and paste that. That's great.
Yeah, I know. It's really beautiful. When we remain, I like the last part, when we remain busy in the service of Lord Krishna,
yeah,
we can expect to be attacked by the people of this material world. Now, that is definitely reminds me of Balabhadra Prabhu's quote. He says, when we say yes to Krishna, we are declaring war with Maya.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I like that he says here, when I think that I'm well, I become averse to Krishna.
Yes. It's
when we're like, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Things are going great. Yeah. I'm good. And we're like, and then all of a sudden we think we are the controllers.
Yeah. That is a very powerful quote. Amazing, powerful quote. Thank you.
That's a perfect way to end the class. Thank you, Prabhu.
Perfect. Absolutely. Beautiful way of ending the class. Thank you so much, Vrinda. It was such a wonderful class. And thank you to all the devotees for joining us. Bancha kapti bhyascha kripasinda bevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Happy Gaur Purnima, everyone. How are you?
You too. Happy Gaur Purnima.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Colby.
Hare Krishna.
Harival.